Thanks for joining us for the Member Excite presentation. The Member Excite presentation is informative, interesting to the audience, and showcases the strengths of the presenter as an entrepreneur and their area of expertise. It's not a sales pitch, it's a 10-minute educational and insightful exploration into what they do. And of course, it's exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our BX Excite presenter today, Carlin Lee from Inspire Realty, to present to us on the 3 key ingredients in a multi-million-dollar property investor's portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Carlin Lee.
Guys, I've got 12 years in property. I've been a assistant property manager, which is how I started. Became a property manager, and then I got into sales. I was a sales manager, and then I managed a couple of branches. I was a principal and a licensee in charge of a couple of real estate agencies. And then I transitioned into working for one of Sydney's top developers in Australia. As the project sales director, I was managing 5 major projects with about 2,000 properties in my portfolio. And then just before I started Inspire Realty, I was the head of strategic property services for one of Australia's largest property investment firms. But I've always had a dream to be an entrepreneur. So 2 years ago, I started Inspire Realty with the aim of helping my clients to achieve financial freedom so that they can spend more time doing the things that they love with the people that they love. So that's what I do. But in my last 12 years, I've been very curious. I love asking a lot of questions, and so I've interviewed a lot of my own clients that I've managed their portfolios for. And there's one gentleman that really stood out. He's an investment banker from Hong Kong, and he's had 12 properties when I met him. And I remember looking at his portfolio. He's very, very financially free. Like the passive income that came from that portfolio, I think it would have been, I think it's about 25 million now, what it's worth. So he's very financially free. And I remember saying, how did you build that portfolio? Because I've been doing it for the last 20 years. And he goes, these are the ingredients. So I'm going to share with you one of the things that he mentioned. And he goes, well, look, I'm an investment banker. When I introduce and I recommend products, it's all about the numbers. And he goes, it's really interesting when people invest in properties, they don't look at it through the numbers, through the eyes of an investment banker. So he's created a little bit of a system that he uses to make sure that the investment properties that he chooses satisfies a certain criteria. And that's what I want to share with you today. So here are the 3 key ingredients. It's not a lot, but I hope you remember them. It's 3 Ds. Okay, so it's not that hard to remember. The first one is data-driven. So when I recommend my properties to my clients, it's never, hey, this feels really good. It's not about the heart, it's about the head. So I do a lot of the numbers, the analysis for them. Just to give you an idea, there's 15,000 suburbs in Australia. Did you know that? So out of 15,000 suburbs, how do you select the top 10, 15, or 20 suburbs that you're going to invest in? And believe it or not, there are a lot of platforms out there that can help you to analyze and select the best suburbs. Another thing is I've learned from this gentleman is that timing property is more important than timing. Most people try and get the right timing, but it's about the timing property. So look, I've got 25 lists or items on my checklist before I recommend a property to a client. I'm just going to go through 12 of them very, very quickly with you. First one is demand to supply ratio, it's called DSR. Number 2, 36-month median value growth rate, that's what I look at as well. All that data is available, by the way. 12 months rental growth rate, I look at the rental yield, gross rental yield, price relative to median value, the stock available on the market, days on market, auction clearance rates, vacancy rates, council zoning changes, future infrastructure changes within that suburb. So looking at council documents, looking at what's being approved or DA approved for what's going to be built in 5 years. So that's what I look at. And also proximity. This is not rocket science, but proximity to parks and open spaces, train station, bus stops, schools, and amenities. Now, I was just talking to Wendy a little bit earlier. Another thing I really look for are properties that have owner-occupier appeal. Because ultimately, you want to buy a property that in 10 years' time, an owner-occupier will pay double or triple what you bought it for. So those are some of the criteria I look at. Point number 2. But before I do that, how many of you like playing Monopoly? Show of hands. I love playing Monopoly as a young boy. I used to win at the game all the time. So I found myself having a bit of a knack of winning Monopoly. And I found out that there is a hack to Monopoly. So I'm going to give it to you. Most people try and save their money to buy the perfect property. What I've learned is you've got to use it to grow it. And so what I did is I never let go of the smaller properties, opportunities. In fact, I'll give you a little secret. There are red and orange properties on the map. Those properties are landed most often. So if you buy more red and orange properties that are smaller properties, chances of you winning is pretty high. And the thing is, you've got to develop very quickly. You've got to put a house on it and a hotel on it very, very quickly. So that's what I did. And I won 90% of the time in Monopoly. Same thing with property portfolio. The second tip, the second D, is actually diversity. So in Monopoly, you don't just want to buy in that one area, you don't want to just buy utilities, you want to buy a lot of different types of properties. So there are three things I look at when it comes to diversification of your property portfolio. The first one is the age. So that is, I get a lot of people saying, should I buy new or should I buy existing established old properties? And it really depends. It depends on the available savings you have, it depends on your cash flow, depends on the available equity that you have in your current property portfolio. Because if you don't have enough equity or borrowing capacity to buy something now, you may have to buy an off-the-plan property. But obviously, if you do, and you can sell on a property in the next 6 to 8 weeks, then it may be better for you to buy something established, which is where I come in really, really handy. Second thing is diversification in types. So in my 7 property portfolios, I have house and land packages all over Australia. I have units as well. So just different types of property which serves different purposes within your property portfolio. So it has to be pretty bespoke. And if you're interested in having me look at your, do a property review of your portfolio, chat to me and I'll certainly help you with that as well. The third diversification strategy is multiple cities. As we all know, Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane and all other states perform differently at different times. So it's a really good idea to invest in different states because you can release equity at the right time when the property does go up. You know, 2 minutes. The third one, the third D is, this is a really quite advanced strategy which I'm only doing now after 10 years. Can you believe it? And that is development opportunities or joint ventures. So I'm actually doing one subdivision now. I bought a block of land 5 years, 6 years ago, but I knew that land was going to be DA approved for a potential site for a duplex. So my wife, being an award-winning architect, is designing our development site at the moment, which is really, really good. So 3 tips in the development potential. Number 1, find properties that you can add value to it, whether that's a simple renovation or like my wife just worked with one of my clients, she gutted the entire bathroom and kitchen and just added, they spent about $150,000, but we would have added at least $300,000 to the value of the property. That's incredible. Number 2, subdivision, and number 3, amalgamation. So if you buy a site with good potential, you can always speak to your neighbors and amalgamate the site and sell it for a lot more to a developer. So that's the third D, which is development potential and joint ventures. Now, I did say that I'm going to give you the final ingredients or the ingredients for the Japanese cheesecake. Try it at home. That's only 3 very, very simple ingredients. You won't believe it. It's white chocolate, cream cheese, and eggs. Only 3 basic ingredients. The question is, how do you put it together and mix it together to create the perfect Japanese cheesecake? Look up Uncle Tetsu Japanese cheesecake. If you ever want to make it, it's my wife's favorite. It's my favorite cheesecake. It's beautiful. So I hope one day we'll make a good Japanese cheesecake. Thank you so much for your time, guys.